Hello, squad. What's good? Welcome back one more time. It's your man, Unspoken Reviews, back again with another video. And today we are going to be talking about yet again another fantastic episode of Daredevil Born Again, Season 2, Episode 6, Requiem. All right, guys. So once again, this has been a fantastic show, another great episode. And of course, you can feel from the vibe that this episode is giving is that we are nearing the finish line. We've got two more episodes remaining. And after the events of episode 5, you can tell these last 3 episodes are going to be upping the stakes. It's going to be pushing our heroes to the edge. It's going to be pushing our villains to the edge. And everybody is going to be affected by the events going forward. And the show makes sure that you remember that there are stakes being played here and that things are getting hard for everybody. And I'm so glad that the Netflix writers are back again. Once again, I cannot say how thankful I am once more for Feige bringing them back, because you can tell these guys really know how to hype up the train, get the fans talking, bring exactly what they're looking for, and they don't skip out on it for a single second. All right, guys. So remember episode 5, we did lose Vanessa, and we do realize that the events of her death were going to send the characters on a downward spiral, specifically Kingpin. We do realize that now this is going to be a loss that he just cannot recover from. And I called it in the beginning, at the very end of episode 5, man. As soon as she died, I knew that doctor was living on borrowed time. The moment he said that he was hopeful that she would make it through, I knew that if she died, he was going to be the first on the list. And I like how he does try to come in and offer his condolences, give a little Catholic prayer to try to encourage him to remember that Vanessa will always be with him, and offers a hug. And I was like, dude, you should just walk out that room. You should just, pack up your locker, get in your car and drive 2 states over, then call and offer your condolences. Because the second he offered that hug and Kingpin went in for it, I knew it was coming to an end, man. He did like a spine breaker on him, and my man died right there on the hospital floor for a buck to have to do a cleanup on. And you see that Wilson is spiraling heavy. This was his wife. This was the last part of his being that was connected to being a human being. And now it's just full tilt Kingpin. It's just full steam ahead. There is no mayor. There is no Wilson Fisk. It's just Kingpin. And I liked about the episode, you see that he is just done with everything. He's at the funeral, and, you see how defeated he is. And everybody's just looking at him. Everybody, Daniel, Buck, Sheila, Heather, everybody in the whole funeral home is staring at him because they know that this is where everything goes to hell. And you see him just sitting there staring at the coffin. Once again, another fantastic acting job from Vincent D'Onofrio. He was born to play Kingpin, and seeing him walk out of that church, you could tell that when he puts that rose on the casket, the music is playing. He walks to the doors of the church, and you can tell he's literally leaving everything behind. We see that he's just not talking to anyone. Mr. Charles even tries to contact him because Wilson does take all his guns. He takes everything that are his weapons and everything that they promised to work together with, and he moves it into a secure location. And even when Mr. Charles tries to bait him, you see Wilson just sitting there, completely quiet on the phone, not saying anything. You can just tell he's done talking. And even Mr. Charles is like, damn it, I think I pushed this just a little too hard with this dude. However, we do know Mr. Charles is CIA, and he actually goes to the governor with the option of taking care of, the governor's mayor problem. And it just goes to show how nasty this dude is and how many connections he has, because he does know the governor and tried to offer her something once before and she declined. But it seems like this might be a little different this time. It also seems like the governor's in the crosshairs of Bucks because he's trying to hire people that work closely to her to kill her so that they can get in power. And I think that's what's going to happen. I do believe Sheila is going to become mayor after the events of the show, because I think we do see her in the Brand New Day teaser trailer. So I think that someone that Kingpin wants in control is going to be the governor, but I still think that Sheila's going to become mayor, and she's going to affect the changes where she can. Once again, also, I know I'm just saving my best parts for last. I know a lot of y'all are like, wait, when you going to talk about? I know, relax. Also, Michael Gandolfini as Daniel. Once again, another phenomenal episode with this guy. He does a great job. Him and BB actually go to see his mother in Staten Island. And you could tell that Daniel's really hurt by her loss. He's struggling with the idea that she's gone. And he also realizes that this is a very sensitive time. He's actually kind of nervous about the way things are going. And, you know, BB does kind of show up to try to offer condolences. And you can see Daniel just doesn't really want anything to do with her, even though it is his birthday and that he should be celebrating it. He just doesn't feel like he should be doing anything. She offers to go with him to his mother's, and Buck gives him the idea that you may need to take her out. You need to follow through with this because now you're at the big boys. I told you guys before in that last episode when he helped bury that body that he was now in this. There was no out. There was no in and out, right? It was just in or out. And I like how Buck is constantly reminding him, you're going to have to do something. Throughout this episode, Michael Gandolfini, the look in his eyes as Blake, you could see him wrestling with the idea that though he likes BB, he may need to end this. He may need to take her out. And as they light his birthday candles, just the look in his eyes as he's looking over the cake at BB, I was like, yo, this chick is about to bite it. As we do hear from him, he does let her know that Fisk is not going up for re-election, that he's done with everything, to try to see where BB is mentally or if she is going against him. So he does give her that information, and he kind of waits to see what she's going to do. He waits, like he's really kind of cold to her because he's trying to see how she's going to take the information that he gave her. And I like how she gets a chance to go into his room and she's getting ready to actually text Ellison. If you guys remember Ellison, he was the editor that was working with Karen in season 2 to try to bring down Fisk. No, season 1, 2, and 3, I believe, is where we see him at. And he was once an editor of Ben's, and he was also heartbroken. A lot of people thought he was responsible for tipping off Kingpin that led to Ben's death, which it wasn't him. It's good to know that he's still active in this universe as well. And we see how she looks at Daniel's old room and look at his pictures of his father and the fact that he didn't know him and that he actually looks to Wilson as someone to look up to. Very horrible role model, in my opinion, but he's just desperate for someone to see his good work and believe in him. And you see that BB kind of gets taken aback a little bit and she realizes that she doesn't really want to do this like she thinks she does, or she recognizes that Daniel is playing her. He does warn her, though, that Buck wants her dead and that she needs to back off. She usually thought that he was just kind of BSing, but he lets her know when Buck is calling, yo, he wants you dead, okay? And she starts to really understand that she's poking a big bear and she needs to remember that there are consequences. She's not protected by anything. Neither was BB. Neither was Ben Urich, so hopefully she keeps that in mind going forward. But we do see these two have some romantic vibes, and maybe it might be going there. However, I truly do doubt it. I really think that Daniel is going to be the one paying the piper when everything comes to an end. We also get another great scene from Heather here. Once again, this is still a character that I struggle to like after the way she treated Matt in Born Again season 1, but we see she is still spiraling, and now with the death of Vanessa, that's a little bit more active. We see she's actually taking some items from Vanessa's bedroom, which I think was a pair of earrings, and she's kind of giving off that Muse vibe of having to have something of people who die around her, almost like she has a control of that. And I like how Buck allows her to form a little S&M and try to choke her out to kind of feel what she felt during the events of Muse trying to kill her. And she is really tapping into that rage and that pain and the way she's breathing like that. And Buck is really letting her go to let her prove to herself that she needs to tap into the things that's happening to her to become the best version of herself. And I just like the battle that she's having with this. As we know, she may go full tilt Muse, man. She's on her way to that area. And I like how Buck is trying to manipulate it to make it happen, just to go to show that he needs a chaos player, and she might be something that comes in handy. I doubt that Buck has any romantic feelings to her. I think he's just playing into her pain to get a reward for that, for trying to maybe get eyes off Fisk. I don't know. We'll see. So we do find out that the weapons have been moved from one location to another, and this all comes via Jessica Jones. I know you guys are waiting for me to talk about it. Yo, Kristen Ritter came into this like she picked up the baton in a race that was never stopping. She does a great job as Jessica. She picks up the role very well. Once more, even after 7 years, 7 years, she comes back and does a great job as the character. When we meet her again, we see that she's in a comfortable home with a child, and we see a couple people show up with some guns. At first, I thought this was Task Force, but it's not. It's actually CIA. And we actually, for the first time, get to meet Daniela Cage, yes, man. Her and Luke did have a child. This is also in the comics. She's not just a regular child. She actually has some of the abilities of both parents, which is that unbreakable skin and that super strength. She takes a little bit from both of them, right? And I love seeing just the kind of mama bear moment in the way that Jessica has settled in. The last time we saw Jessica was the end of season 3, and I like how she is about to leave New York, but then comes back with just this renewed vigor to continue being a private eye and doing what she can to help people who need her. And we see that this has constantly been going on for her, and glad to see her back in a better position of life. You see how much she truly cares for her child and how much she has really adapted after everything that's happened with Kilgrave, with Trish. You sense that she is really ready to become the hero that somebody needs, and that is her daughter. You see, she's really growing past the pain of her past and meeting her mother in season 3. So I was very excited to see Kristen Ritter back. We do understand from when she meets up with Matt again is that she was approached by the CIA to do Black Ops jobs. This obviously was Val's doing, as we know by Thunderbolts, that she was using people like Yelena Belova and John Walker and Ghost to enact Black Ops missions around the world where superhuman individuals could be the most useful. But Jessica, in true Jessica fashion, told them to F off and that she didn't want nothing to do with it. However, she does tell Matt that somebody else took the offer. And I'm wondering if she's talking about Trish Walker. A lot of people think she's talking about Luke Cage, but I doubt Luke would do that. I mean, he could in order to protect his family or to provide for them. But last time we saw Luke, he was still running Harlem Paradise. I'm pretty sure we'll find out by season 3. But I believe she's talking about Trish. If you guys remember Trish Walker, she became full on Hellcat by the end of season 3 after she went through that experimentation, really looking up to Jessica, but wanting to do what Jessica does and not be a victim. However, the abilities she have really mess with her mind, and this puts her and Jessica into a fight. However, after she loses, Trish is escorted to the raft, and that's where she's been. And more than likely, she would get hired by Val to create Black Ops missions for her to get out and live a regular life the way that she wants to without being in a cell all the time. So it would make sense if Trish is going on full Hellcat and has been working in the background under Val's orders. Seeing her and Matt together again on screen is amazing. Seeing these two and the way they were back in Defenders and the way the two have these strong, opinionated attitudes, but throughout the time really grow to warm up to each other. I still love the scene where both Matt and Jessica are sitting there talking to the young girl in Defenders, and they're trying to learn why the architect was doing what he was doing. And she actually uses the memory of Matt's father as a boxer to encourage the young girl to stand up and do the right thing. And you see that the two of them kind of start to connect a little bit, right? She understands what Matt is doing and why he does what he does. Even though she kind of dresses up kind of funny to her, she's like, I get it now. It's just a really great scene. And now seeing these two on the roof now again, seeing the way they talk to each other, the way that Matt knows how Jessica thinks now, and the way that Jessica has felt comfortable talking to Matt about how now she is a mother, she is settling into that and how she's pissed off about the fact they're coming after her kid. But we also find out from Jessica that her powers are starting to weigh out. This actually is normal in the comics. And a lot of people think maybe they nerfed her, but that's not the case. This is something that does happen in the comics to her and Luke. Remember, these two were not born physically enhanced. They were experimented on. And then they got super strength and super powers, super durability and stamina and so on and so forth. So them having a child would take parts of their DNA to form one being. It would make sense that their powers would start to weigh out. Or when I look at Jessica, it could be a change in dynamic of attitude, right? Jessica once was all about herself. She had nothing to lose. She cared about Trish and a few other people like Malcolm, but for the most part, she was just doing what she was doing. And it may be evident from Jessica being a mother that her emotions are taking over and maybe it's sapping her strength. And she doesn't have the power like she used to. And that does make sense. We have seen that in the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man film, that maybe her attitude towards being a hero has changed. And because her priorities change, maybe her emotions change and maybe her powers don't work like they used to, right? We do get an epic, epic fight scene from Daredevil and Jessica, both going up against the task force agents. And I really like seeing these two kind of work together I thought it was real funny that Jessica, not doing stealth, just knocks a task force agent through the wall. And I like how Matt just walks through the door. It was so funny. I kind of thought he would come from the ceiling or something, but my man literally walked through the door like, I'll just take the door. I like that they get into this fight and seeing Jessica cut loose, taking people out, watching Matt have her back the way he can, and seeing her powers actually do fail her. She punches Powell, and for a minute I thought Powell had enhanced himself or something. Not the case. She actually hits her and her powers start to weigh out. And, Matt does come to her rescue and they do manage to destroy the weapons and get out of there without any further damage. And I hate that this is the last time we see Jessica Jones. However, she does kind of show up in some still images for the next couple episodes. So I'm pretty sure we're not done seeing her. I'm pretty sure she's going to make an appearance in the final episode just to show that she's reaching out to Danny and Luke that, they do need to come back and help. Also, side note there about Danny Rand. When I say Daniela Cage, remember, Danny and Luke are best friends. Daniela Cage is actually named after Danny Rand, and Danny is actually her godfather. So he does know that she exists and probably has a very active position in her life. That's just something I really love about these two as heroes for hire and best friends. You can really tell that even after the events of Luke Cage season 2, these two have really stayed tight, and I really like that. All right, so moving forward. So I got to give a lot of props to Karen Walk 'em Down Page in this episode, man. Karen was at her best, at her most vulnerable, and her most angry. As we do know from the last episode, Matt does bring Bullseye to the hideout, and she does not hide the fact that even as they are saving his life, she wants him dead. And Matt does not want that. He wants his best to try to save him. And you can see that she is slowly stripping off the armor, and she really wants to do this. And she even has an opportunity where she puts the gun to Bullseye's head. And, he's not running from it. He's actually thanking her for freeing him from the burden and the sin and the bad choices he made, and feels like he needs someone to equal the scales up to him as well. He's not afraid of dying. He actually smiles and says, thank you for this. And she's about to pull the trigger. And the only reason she doesn't is because Matt intervenes. And man, the actress that plays Karen Page, oh my gosh, bro, amazing. The way she's like screaming at Matt, and she feels this overbearing feeling, the realizing that Matt is a good man who's making the right choices, but she herself is done doing that. And she makes a good point. I know we hate to see our heroes going down these dark pathways, but when she's arguing with Matt about doing the right thing of killing Bullseye and wanting to carry this for him because she knows his Catholic background will not allow it to happen, is so amazing. I know some people wonder where could they possibly go with Karen Page in this episode or in this season. And you see it right here, 110%. The pain that she's experienced from, with Ben Urich, Nadeem, the Northern Star first mate, Foggy, all these deaths, she's right. They have happened consistently from monsters like Bullseye and Kingpin. And the only way probably to stop them is to do what Frank Castle would have done. And I like when Matt asks her what happened to her. She goes, I grew up. And I love how she's willing to do it. And she even acknowledges Wesley and says, you don't think I don't feel bad about killing Wesley? Like it doesn't haunt me every single time I close my eyes that she sees his face. But she says, I don't regret it. It was necessary. And it's like, damn, like you want to be so upset seeing her like this, but you agree in an extent where she's coming from. And I love the fact that between her and Matt, there's just this dynamic. And between seeing the way that Karen is acting, Daniel's acting, you can see that the battle between Matt and Wilson is just constantly aggravating the city of New York. It's driving the people up a wall. And I love when Matt comes to Wilson and he says, look, let's just walk away. Let's just stop fighting. We don't have to do this anymore. I'll go my way and leave New York. You go your way and leave New York. And we can just stop. Imagine if we never met. And I like how Wilson just is dismissing it. Like he's like, no. Like he's done trying to be anything better. And Matt does have a point. Like Karen does have a point. Their war between each other is destroying the city. It's destroying the people. And despite all this, neither of them can just walk away. They have to feel like something good has come out of it. And we see that these two finally get the rematch of the century and they're going at it. They're fighting. Bones are breaking. everyone's getting slammed into walls, blood's getting sprayed everywhere. The rabbit in the snowstorm painting gets destroyed, and you can sense the way Wilson is slowly dying more inside, the way he's becoming more Kingpin by the second of this fight. He is just done with everything. And it just goes to show just the incredible acting between Daredevil and Wilson. The way these two are such rivals and have so much hatred for each other cannot be missed, man. I thought for a minute in between this fight that maybe Matt accidentally killed Wilson. Of course, that's not the case. I think he just kind of broke his jaw. And I like how, Kingpin is like, rest me, you cannot, kill me, you will not. And it just goes, damn, you know what I mean? Like, he's right. Like, she's right. As long as these two are constantly at it, it will never be resolved, man. It will always keep getting worse. And we see this episode does close out with the resistance going up against the task force at City Hall, the straight powder keg that is being lit between both Wilson and Matt. And as it finally spills to an edge, we do see that Powell does end up killing the task force agent that was helping the rebellion. And it's just a real sad thing to see that he knew this entire time, and he puts a bullet in the man's head. And this is not missed by Cole North. And I was surprised to see how Cole hesitated. You see that he realizes that something is wrong, that these things are not right. At first, he thought he was doing the right thing. But the moment Powell pulled the trigger on that task force agent and then lies to rally up the task force agents, saying that vigilantes killed him, is starting to make him realize that this is not right. This makes me wonder if Cole will take on his identity from the comics and realize that what the task force is doing is not something that he can believe in. He was a soldier. He did fight for the people. And now seeing the way that things are unraveling, maybe he might be having a change. Man, this episode was great. It did a great job. I cannot wait to see how everything comes to an end. We still have 2 more episodes, guys, before we move on to the Punisher series or a Punisher special. I can't wait, guys. I hope you enjoyed the review, and I will catch you guys in the next one.